Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Lives and Lessons Learned of 100 Christians. Today, we're doing somebody who you may have heard of before, Jim Elliot. He was an American missionary. He was martyred in Ecuador by the Huaorani people, which inspired a global missions movement. His life is chronicled in his wife's writing. Elizabeth Elliot wrote The Shadow of the Almighty and Through Gates of Splendor, which embody radical devotion, blending faith with a willingness to die for the gospel. At age 28, his spearing by tribesmen alongside four other colleagues ignited a legacy that continues through his widow's writing and ongoing work among unreached peoples. His famous quote is this: "He is no fool who gives what he cannot gain, what he cannot lose. To gain. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose," which distills a life spent for eternity. He was born October 8th, 1927 in Portland, Oregon. He grew up in a tight-knit family where scripture was life's backbone. The second of four children, he displayed early intensity, memorizing passages, debating theology, and shunning worldly distractions like movies. He was a gifted student and orator at the Benson Polytechnic High School. He excelled in wrestling and even in drama, but saw these as secondary to God's call. "I'm just a signpost pointing to Christ," he said. At Wheaton College, he majored in Greek to master biblical texts. He wrestled competitively and led prayer groups. His journals reveal a restless soul yearning for unreached fields. In 1947, at a missionaries conference, it cemented his focus on Latin America, inspired by tales of uncontacted tribes. Single but open to marriage, he met Elizabeth Howard in 1948, a fellow Wheaton student whose quiet strength matched his zeal. Their romance, marked by long letters debating singleness versus service, culminated in a 1953 wedding. All right, 1952, Jim sailed to Ecuador with his friend Pete Fleming under the Christian Missions in Many Lands ministry. After language school in Quito, they settled in Shandia, a Quicha village in the Amazon rainforest, building a mission station with mud huts and an airstrip. Jim preached, taught literacy, and translated scripture, often trekking days to reach villages. By 1955, he and Elizabeth welcomed their daughter Valerie into the world. Jim's heart burned for the Huaorani people, then called the Aucas, which is a term that means savages. Tribe notorious for spearing outsiders. No missionary had survived contact. Inspired by Acts 1:8, to the ends of the earth, Jim, Pete, and three others, Nate Saint, Ed McCulley, and Roger Yoderin, formed the Operation Auca. Using Pete's plane, they scouted Huaorani territory, dropping gifts like machetes and clothes, and broadcasting friendly phrases to the Huaorani people via loudspeaker. On January 3rd, 1956, they landed at the Kauai River sandbar, making brief contact with three Huaorani, including a man they nicknamed George. A few days later, January 8th, 10 Huaorani warriors attacked Jim, 28, at his team. Jim and his team were armed with guns, but choosing not to shoot, were speared to death. Their bodies were found days later by a search party. They were buried in a common grave near the river. News hit the global headlines, with Life magazine publishing photos of their widows, who waited anxiously in the Shandia. Elizabeth, 29, Valerie, 10 months, faced grief but not despair. "The Lord has closed our hearts to bitterness," Elizabeth wrote. Martyrdoms weren't their end. Their martyrdoms weren't. In 1958, Elizabeth and Valerie and Rachel Saint, which was Nate's sister, lived among the Huaorani people, welcomed by the very killers. Many included George, who converted, transformed by the gospel. In 1994, over half the tribe professed faith, with churches and schools flourishing. Elizabeth's books, translated into a dozen languages, recruited thousands to missions, and the Huaorani Church endures today through groups like the WEC International, which was the mission group. So, lessons to learn: give what you cannot keep, sacrifice temporal gains like comfort and safety for eternal rewards. Burn with a singular passion. Let Christ's mission consume your life. Half-heartedness, waste it. Trust God's timing. All right? Well, in relationships, submit romance to divine purposes. God designs relationships for his glory. Talking about their dating situation. Die to self before dying to Christ. Daily surrender prepares for the ultimate sacrifice. Faith sees beyond failure. Ooh, I like this one. God redeems apparent defeats. Martyrdom plants seeds. And then reach the unreached. The gospel demands urgency for those who have never heard. His life challenges us. Will we trade what we cannot keep for what we cannot lose? In a world chasing safety, Jim beckons, burn brightly, even if briefly, for the one who calls you to the ends of the earth. So, yeah, quite a story. Yeah, a lot to be challenged by people who have sacrificed so much. I was just talking about that at the prayer house last night. A lot of these people that we've been doing these little biographies on gave up a lot, had really hard things happen to them. Two things: I think it inspires us that we can do it, and also kind of gives us a different perspective on the things that we wrestle with. So, all right, thanks so much. Take care. God bless. Bye.